Believe it or not, when she doesn't call or text you, it means modern stoic. Silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu. There's a certain kind of silence that speaks louder than any argument or conversation. If you've ever sent a message and waited, only to be met with nothing, you know exactly what I mean. She doesn't reply. Maybe she leaves you on read. Maybe she doesn't open it at all. And then your mind starts doing its worst work, replaying every detail, second, guessing every word, rewriting entire moments. Was it something I said? Did I move too fast? Is she done and just not saying it? That gnawing uncertainty, it's not just annoying. It's painful. It shakes your confidence and steals your peace. But here's what most men don't realize: silence isn't absence. It's presence in another form. And often, it's more revealing than anything she could have said. Her not reaching out. That's a message. One filled with intention, emotion, and clarity. If you know how to read it, this isn't about playing games or overanalyzing every move. And it's definitely not about begging for attention. In this video, we'll go deeper. We'll break down what silence really means, emotionally, psychologically, and even philosophically. Through the lens of modern Stoicism, we'll explore how to approach this kind of situation not with desperation, but with strength, wisdom, and grounded clarity. You'll learn how to respond, not react, and why mastering that subtle difference can change everything. By the end, you won't just understand her silence, you'll understand yourself better too, because when you stop chasing answers, you start hearing what silence was trying to tell you all along. One, the silence isn't always negative. Believe it or not, when she doesn't call or text you back, it doesn't always mean what your gut reaction tells you. Don't fall for that familiar trap. That old voice in your head, the one that's quick to whisper she's done with you. Yeah, that one. It's lying. The silence. It isn't always a verdict. In fact, sometimes it's got nothing to do with you at all. You must understand not every pause is a problem. Not every lull is a loss. A modern Stoic knows this, and he doesn't flinch when the phone stays quiet. Why? Because he's anchored. He knows that emotional withdrawal, especially early on, can be part of her rhythm, not a signal of rejection. Women often communicate in waves, not the steady, predictable kind men are used to, but the kind that ebb and flow with emotion, thought, and timing. She's not ghosting you. She might be overwhelmed. Maybe she's working through her own stuff, taking space that feels natural to her. Or yes, maybe even wrestling with feelings that scare her because they're strong. The old Stoic in you might want to react, to chase, to fix. Don't. Be better than your impulses. Be still. That's the blessing of Stoicism. Now here's where modern culture kicks you in the ribs. We've all been spoon-fed this idea that replies must be instant, that validation should show up faster than a delivery pizza. But real human connection doesn't always operate on that bandwidth, especially not a romantic connection, especially not in the beginning when everything is still uncertain and fragile. Think deeper. Communication isn't always transactional. Men tend to see it that way. We send a message, we expect a return, simple input, output logic. But women, as Deborah Tannen and others have shown, often operate from a relational framework. Their silence isn't a void, it's a space to breathe, to feel, to be. That silence might mean she's protecting her heart. It might mean she's waiting for the right words. Or it might simply mean she's living her life. Don't misread it. And more importantly, don't fill it with your own insecurities. You panic. You start wondering what you did wrong. You spiral into fix mode. You send that second text, maybe even a third. You try to fill in the blanks with assumptions. That is exactly where things go sideways. Because now, instead of being grounded in presence, you're dancing with fear. And fear never looks attractive. The modern Stoic doesn't need a reply to feel secure. He knows his worth is not tied to a timestamp or a read receipt. He embraces the silence not as rejection, but as reflection. He uses that space to observe himself. Why am I so uncomfortable with not knowing? What does this say about me? That kind of inner interrogation. That's the real strength. That's where the blessing of Stoicism lives, in the ability to hold your own center while the world offers no answers. So here's your command: don't react. Don't chase. Don't make her silent about you. Be the old Stoic with modern wisdom, quiet, calm, composed. Let her come to you when she's ready. If she never does, you've still kept your dignity. And if she does, she'll be meeting a man who didn't crumble at the first test of uncertainty. That's not just attractive, that's powerful. 2. The Stoic response to uncertainty. When she doesn't call or text you back, don't panic, don't spiral, don't waste your energy checking your phone 100 times or replaying every word you said. Stop, breathe, return to yourself. That's the Stoic response to uncertainty. That's the path of power. Marcus Aurelius didn't waste a moment wondering why someone didn't send a message. He mastered himself instead. And that's exactly what you must do. Her silence is not a rejection. It's not a crisis. It's not even personal. It's an event. Neutral, meaningless, until you assign it meaning. And here's the truth. You control the meaning. You decide whether that silence breaks you or builds you. You decide whether you become a man of reaction or a man of restraint. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's the heartbeat of Stoic principles. You cannot control her behavior, you cannot control her choices, but you can absolutely, completely control your response. That's your arena. That's where your victory lies. When you sit in silence and choose calm over chaos, you win. When you don't text back out of fear or desperation, you win. When you allow uncertainty to exist without letting it rattle your center, you rise above the average man. Because the average man needs closure, reassurance, a signal. The Stoic man, you, need only your own discipline. Don't chase what's not yours. Don't interpret absence as a verdict on your worth. Let her silence echo without needing to fill it. Let it test your inner strength. This is what Stoic mastery looks like in modern life. It's not just philosophy, it's your operating system, your edge. In the age of constant communication and dopamine-driven neediness, true stillness is rare, stillness is power, stillness is magnetic. Most men don't know how to just be, but you must. You must learn to sit without knowing, and you must learn to love it. That silence, it's not a void, it's a mirror. It reveals where you stand with yourself, and if you stand tall there, you become untouchable. That is how you earn respect, from her, from the world, and from yourself. That is how you live as a modern Stoic. Stoicism is not about passivity. It's about presence. It's about strength under pressure, composure in the storm, clarity when emotions are screaming for control. Marcus Aurelius didn't beg for signs. He looked inward. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the blueprint. That's the standard. Don't waver. Don't break. Use every unanswered message as a lesson in self-mastery. Use every moment of silence as training. This is your arena. This is how you become unshakable. You don't need her attention to be centered. You don't need her validation to stand tall. You are not defined by her presence or her absence. You are defined by your principles, by your discipline, by how you carry yourself when no one is watching. That is the modern Stoic mindset. Let the other men scramble. Let them text out of fear, doubt, and emotional chaos. You lead with stillness. You choose restraint. You own your mind. And in doing so, you win. Every time. If you're tired of letting silence shake your confidence, it's time to rise above. A true modern Stoic doesn't chase answers. He chooses presence over panic, clarity over chaos. And if you feel that shift within you, drop this in the comments right now. Her silence is my signal to return to myself. Like this video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, you don't need closure from her, you need composure from you. 3. Her silence often tests your emotional strength. When she doesn't call or text you, your instinct may tell you it's rejection, but that's not always the truth. More often than not, her silence is a test, not a cruel or manipulative trick, but an unconscious check for emotional strength. Women, whether they realize it or not, test not with words, but with behavior, by pulling back, going quiet, slowing communication, and in that stillness, they're not asking you to chase. They're asking a deeper question. Can you hold your center without my reassurance? This is what psychologists call a comfort test. And it's rooted in something much older than modern dating. It's biological. From an evolutionary standpoint, women are wired to seek emotional security, and emotional strength is the signal they're looking for. That strength isn't found in charm, wealth, or even physical dominance. It's found in composure. If a few hours of silence send you spiraling into anxiety, you're communicating instability. But if you remain grounded, present, and unbothered, you communicate something far more valuable: emotional safety. And here's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoic life teaches you not to be ruled by what's outside your control. Her silence, that's out of your hands. But your response, that's 100% yours. The Stoic man does not panic when validation is withdrawn. He doesn't crumble at the first sign of distance. He pauses, he breathes, he returns to himself. And that stillness, that quiet confidence, is louder and more attractive than any flurry of texts or emotional outbursts. We've been trained as men to react, to fix, to chase what pulls away. But those who live by Stoic lessons know that strength often looks like stillness. It's the ability to sit with uncertainty without demanding closure, to know that your worth isn't determined by her attention, but by your ability to stay rooted when nothing is guaranteed. That's what separates boys from men. When she goes silent, don't interpret it as a verdict. See it for what it is: a mirror. It reflects who you are in moments of uncertainty. Are you needy? Are you reactive? Or are you calm, composed, and self-validated? The Stoic doesn't need to prove anything. He knows who he is. And in that knowing, he becomes the kind of man women are instinctively drawn to. Not because he's playing games, but because he offers the one thing that truly attracts peace. And here's the deeper truth. This isn't just about her. This is about you. Her silence is the training ground for your evolution. It's not a punishment. It's an invitation to step into your strength, to learn what it means to live a Stoic life where your emotions serve you, not sabotage you. So don't text, don't chase, don't crumble. Be the man who stands still and lets the storm pass. That's power. That's presence. That's Stoicism. If this strikes a chord deep within you, comment below. Her silence tests me, but I stand unshaken. Let the world know you're not just surviving the silence, you're mastering it. 4. If you chase her silence, you lose. Don't kid yourself. When she goes quiet, it means something. And believe it or not, when she doesn't call or text, it isn't always because she's too busy or confused. Sometimes, silence is the message. Now, here's where most men trip over their own pride. They rush in, desperate to fix the silence. Double texts, sad, eyed apologies, the ever pitiful just checking in. Stop. That's not strength. That's insecurity wearing cologne. The brutal truth. The more you chase her silence, the louder it gets. Every needy ping you send echoes with the sound of respect slipping away. You think you're reconnecting. She feels you tugging. And nobody, man or woman, likes to feel tugged at. That isn't intimacy. That's pressure. Why does this happen? It's simple psychology. Wrapped in what modern Stoics have known for centuries, people recoil when their autonomy feels invaded. This is called reactance, and it's as old as human nature itself. You think you're showing care, but if she's pulled back and you barge forward, she doesn't feel seen, she feels smothered. And here's the kicker: by pursuing, you unwittingly give her emotional authority. You're waiting on her cue, her approval, her attention. That's not power, That's passive submission, and nothing, absolutely nothing, deflates attraction like a man begging silently for permission to matter. The modern Stoic understands this. He doesn't flinch at discomfort. He doesn't fill every void with words. He honors space, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because he knows his value isn't dependent on a reply. It's rooted in his presence, not his persistence. When you chase silence, you hand her the reins. When you embrace it, you show you still hold your own. That's the blessing of Stoicism restraint that radiates strength. Don't confuse withdrawal with weakness. Don't mistake quiet with loss. Sometimes, the most commanding statement a man can make is no statement at all. So next time she pulls back, don't chase. Don't hover like a satellite waiting for a signal. Be the mountain, not the man sending flares from the valley. Let her feel your absence, not as punishment, but as proof that you are not dependent on her presence to feel whole. That's the old Stoic way, firm, composed, and unshaken. And in that space, where most men rush to fill the silence, you wait, you watch, you hold the line, because a man who truly values himself doesn't beg to be noticed. He knows he already is, and sometimes that quiet confidence does more to stir her heart than 1,000 frantic texts ever could. Be still, be certain, be rare. That's what makes you unforgettable. If this hit home, like the video, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more real, grounded insight from the modern Stoic perspective. Comment to remember, silence isn't weakness, it's where a modern Stoic regains his strength. 5. What you should do instead. When she goes quiet, when the phone stays dark and her silence echoes louder than any argument, don't chase, center yourself. Don't beg, don't guess, don't scroll through her social media like a desperate man looking for scraps of attention. That's not power, that's not presence, that's not you. A modern Stoic does not crumble under silence, he strengthens. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When she stops texting, don't start doubting. Don't spiral into anxiety. Instead, anchor yourself deeper in your purpose. Stop giving your mental energy to what you cannot control. Reclaim it. Redirect it. Refocus it. That's the Stoic path. That's where power lives. Don't check her Instagram. Don't count the hours since her last message. Don't dissect her silence like it's a code to crack. That's a weakness in disguise. That's dependence. You must flip the frame. Instead of asking, "Why isn't she calling?" ask yourself, "Where am I slacking in my mission?" That silence, it's not a punishment. It's a prompt, a brutal, beautiful reminder to return to your foundation, your mind, your body, your goals. Use the silence like the Stoics used hardship as fuel. Go train your body until it hurts. Go build a business. Write the book, start the project, clean your space, fix your posture, fix your habits. Do the work that reflects a man in control of himself. Let her silence remind you of what you've been ignoring. That's the true Stoic principle. Discipline over distraction. Let's be clear. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about actually not needing to chase validation. There's no victory in waiting by the phone. There's no strength in hoping she reaches out. There's power in motion, movement, action. Become a man whose life is so rich, so grounded, so purposeful, that her absence feels like a passing cloud, not a thunderstorm. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, act like one, live like one. This is your training ground. This is your edge. Most men obsess. Most men wait. You must rise. Journal not to complain, but to gain clarity. Train not to escape, but to embody your inner strength. Build not to fill the silence, but to create a life that speaks so loud, you no longer notice who's quiet." That is the essence of the modern Stoic. Not a man who numbs himself, not a man who becomes cold, but a man who masters himself through fire, solitude, and focus. Her silence doesn't diminish you, It reveals you, and when you respond like a grounded, mission-driven man, you ascend. Confidence becomes automatic. Presence becomes magnetic. Women feel that shift without a single word spoken, because you're not standing still anymore. You're leading. You're moving forward. You're not a man who waits. You're a man who acts. A man who lives by Stoic principles, who knows that self-control is the gateway to freedom. Don't beg. Don't wait. Don't explain. Build. Move. Win. Be unshakable. Be undeniable. Be the modern Stoic. 6. If she returns, you're still in control. When she finally breaks the silence and hits you with a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" or worse, slides back in with a random meme like nothing ever happened. Don't lose your footing. Don't explode with relief. Don't flood her inbox like you've been emotionally stranded on an island and she just threw you a life raft. That's not strength. That's surrender. And let's be honest, my friend, you're better than that now. If you've spent the silence wisely, practicing Stoicism, reclaiming your time, rebuilding your focus, and living your life like a man who's not defined by a text message, then you already know you're not waiting. You're choosing, and that changes everything. This is where most men drop the ball. The moment she reaches out, they either become a puppy wagging his tail or a bitter storm cloud, trying to guilt her for vanishing. But both responses say the same thing: I wasn't okay without you. That's not power. That's attachment. Real Stoic life means real self. Mastery. Remember what the Stoic lessons teach us. He who angers you conquers you, and likewise, he who defines your mood by a ding on your phone owns you. That's not where you want to live. Not anymore. You've built too much. You've risen too far. If you've used the silence to reconnect with your mission, reframe your values, and reinforce yourself, respect, then you're not emotionally starving when she returns. You're well, fed, grounded, and crystal clear. So how do you respond calmly? Clearly, like a man who lives by Stoicism, not spikes of dopamine? A simple line. Hey, good to hear from you. I've been keeping busy with some new things. Isn't cold. It's confident. It's not distant. It's discerning. It tells her I didn't break while you were gone. I evolved. I expanded. And if you want to reconnect, it's going to happen on solid, honest, intentional ground, not emotional leftovers. Let's be direct. You're not ignoring her unless you've truly decided she doesn't belong on your new path, but you don't chase either. You've come too far for that. Stoic life isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally wise. You've done the work. You've journaled. You've trained. You've grown. And now her return is just another variable, not your center. You don't owe anyone your emotional home just because they knocked on the door again. You choose who enters. That's power. That's peace. That's Stoicism. And here's the twist she never saw coming. Peace is more haunting than anger. Most people expect their absence to leave you aching. When it doesn't. When you respond with grounded grace instead of guilt or need. That's when the real questions start in her mind. What changed? What did I lose? That's the power of a man who doesn't need validation, but invites respect. That's the core of Stoic lessons. You didn't wait for her. You moved forward. And now you stand tall, not because she returned, but because you never left yourself. So don't beg, don't scold, don't pretend nothing happened either. Be balanced, be warm but clear. Be the man who remembers who he is even when she forgets. That is the Stoic life. That is control. That is how you win. Not over her, but over yourself. 7. Her silence reveals your attachment style. When she doesn't call or text you, don't just sit there spiraling. Pause and pay attention. That's silence. It's not just her pulling away. It's a mirror. And what it reflects back is your attachment style. Are you panicking? Obsessively checking your phone, replaying your last words, thinking you did something wrong? Then you're not dealing with her silence. You're wrestling with your own ghosts. That fear, that urgency to fix things, that storm of neediness. That's not her. That's the anxious little boy inside you, still chasing connection to feel worthy. Don't blame her for the echo chamber of your own insecurities. Be honest. That pull to fix it immediately. That's not strength. That's unhealed pain, screaming for validation. The old Stoic would have told you, disturbance lies not in events, but in our perception of them. The blessing of Stoicism is that it doesn't ask you to ignore emotion, it demands you master it. Modern Stoic men know silence isn't an emergency, it's a signal. And how you respond reveals everything about the man you've become. Now contrast that chaos with the man who's grounded. He doesn't rush to text. He doesn't stalk social media for clues. He notices the silence. Yes, he feels it, but he doesn't drown in it. He sits with discomfort, observes anxiety like a passing storm, not a permanent reality. This man, he's cultivated secure attachment. He knows his worth doesn't hang on a message bubble. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He reflects. He recalibrates. And if the silence stretches too long, he moves forward, not out of spite, but from self-respect. That's the modern Stoic way. Don't confuse numbness with strength. Real strength is being fully aware of the ache and choosing not to react blindly to it. You must stop treating every unanswered text like a verdict on your value. It's not. Her silence is a test, yes, but not of her feelings. It's a test of your foundation. Don't fall into the trap of trying to win her back through desperation. That's emotional gambling. Be better than that. Use this moment as a lens, not a leash. Ask yourself, why does this silence hurt so much? What wound is it touching? And how long have you let that run the show? You must get curious about your pain, not enslaved by it. The blessing of Stoicism is that it makes you responsible for your own reactions, not hers, not anyone else's. The old Stoic wasn't detached, he was disciplined. You don't need to be cold, you need to be composed. Learn to love from a place of fullness, not fear. Her silence isn't cruelty, it's clarity. A moment to meet yourself at the edge of discomfort and ask, am I reacting? Or responding? There's a world of difference. One keeps you stuck, the other sets you free. So next time she goes quiet, don't chase, don't collapse, and don't create stories that don't exist. Be still, be sovereign. Be the modern Stoic she didn't expect, but the one she might respect. 8. The way you wait reveals who you are. Not a punishment, not a rejection, just a quiet pause in the noise of connection. And what do you do in that pause that says everything about you? Don't be fooled by the illusion of playing it cool. So many men think they're holding their value by not texting first. They sit in silence like it's a strategy, but inside, they're checking their phone every 10 minutes, heart skipping at every notification, trying not to seem desperate while feeling exactly that. That's not Stoicism. That's suffering in costume. The truth. The way you wait reveals who you are. It's not about what she's doing. It's about what you're doing when she's doing nothing. A Stoic man doesn't wait like a statue. He waits like a warrior. He doesn't just pass time. He uses it. The space between messages becomes a forge, while others scroll endlessly or sink into self-doubt. He trains. He sharpens. He reads. He works. He reflects. He steps further into his purpose. He doesn't ask, when will she text me? He asks, what can I build today? That is the Stoic life, where every quiet moment is an invitation to grow. And if she returns, she's not coming back to the same man. No, she'll be facing someone who evolved, someone who didn't sit idle, hoping to be chosen, someone who became the chooser. That's the blessing of stillness, if you know how to use it. Don't kid yourself. Your silence isn't powerful just because it exists. It only holds weight if it's filled with substance. If all you're doing is brooding and overthinking, then you're not being silent, you're being stuck. You must act. You must rise. Because this isn't just about her decision. It's about yours. Will you let your emotions make you weak, or will you use this discomfort as fuel? The Stoic lessons teach us that we don't control what others do, but we control how we respond. And in that control lies freedom. You're not just waiting for a message. You're standing at the edge of who you were and deciding who you'll be next. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the core of Stoicism. It's not apathy, it's alchemy. Turning confusion into clarity, turning waiting into working, turning longing into leadership. Be the man who makes silence sacred, not scary, who sees time as a tool, not a trap, who transforms distance into discipline. So next time she goes quiet, don't sit there like a statue in emotional limbo. Be in motion, be intentional, be the better man. Whether she comes back or not, you win, because you use the waiting to walk closer to your higher self. That's not just attractive, that's unstoppable. That's a Stoic life. 9. Don't confuse her silence with your insecurity. When she doesn't call, when she doesn't text, when the silence stretches longer than you expect, don't panic, don't spiral, don't start telling yourself a story that doesn't exist. That silence is not an insult. It is not a betrayal. It is not proof that you are unworthy. It is neutral. It is silent. The only thing causing your pain is how you choose to interpret it. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius warned us long ago, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. That quote isn't just philosophy, it's a lifeline. Most of your emotional suffering doesn't come from her. It comes from your own mind, from insecurity, from ego, from the imagined fear that you're not enough, that she's gone, that you're being replaced. None of those thoughts are facts. They're fictions your mind invents when you forget who you are. So let's be clear, her silence is not your enemy. Your interpretation is, that is the battlefield, and you must win that war. You must stop giving power to fear. You must stop writing tragic scripts in your head. Her silence. That's your opportunity to become stronger. That's your challenge to grow. That's your reminder to return to yourself. This is where Stoic principles come into play. A modern Stoic doesn't chase answers. He doesn't beg for validation. He doesn't break down every time someone else doesn't meet his expectations. He stands. He breathes. He endures. You must learn to sit with the silence and master your reaction. That is real power. That is real masculinity. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is space. And space is the arena where confidence is forged. Don't seek her signal to validate your worth. Don't hand over yourself. Respect in exchange for a text message. If your identity shatters every time she doesn't reply, then your identity was built on sand. Rebuild it. Strengthen it. Fortify your mind, like the Stoics taught. You have power over your mind, Marcus Aurelius said, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not just wisdom, that's your battle plan. Use it. Every time she doesn't reply, let that be your trigger to reclaim control, to stop chasing, to start standing taller, to cut the mental noise and return to reason. Let silence refine you, not destroy you. Let's not get it twisted. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about facing it like a man. It's about using Stoic principles to break the cycle of emotional dependency. Let her silence sharpen your focus, not dull your sense of self. Let it be the training ground for mental clarity. Let it push you back into alignment with your own values. Don't waste time inventing stories. Use that time to build discipline, to grow, to conquer. That's how the modern Stoic lives. He leads himself first. He walks with purpose, not permission. So when she doesn't call, doesn't text, doesn't reach out, doesn't crumble, don't guess, don't fear, stand still, breathe deep, think clearly. Let silence be your teacher. Let it echo yourself, control, your power, your peace. That is how you win. That is how you master life. That is what it means to be a Stoic. If this message hits home, don't just scroll, own it. Like the video. Share it with a brother who needs to hear this today, and hit subscribe for more modern Stoic wisdom. The silence isn't your enemy, it's your mirror. Comment below to lock it in. I choose clarity over fear. Let that be your daily reminder. You're not here to chase shadows. You're here to build strength. All right, fellas? That's it for today. Good to connect with you. Let me leave you with this. When she doesn't call or text, it's not a crisis. It's a checkpoint, a moment to remember who you are. You don't need to chase what pulls away. You need to stay solid, stay grounded, and trust that the right people don't require pressure to stay close. That calm you hold, that's your power. That's what makes you stand out, not just to her, but to the world. So next time silence shows up, don't flinch, don't fold, just breathe, and keep building the life that calls you forward. Stay steady, stay sharp, stay stoic. Appreciate you being here. Keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one.